Welcome to the Pulse on Human Design. I am really excited today to have Andrea Slate with me. Andrea is an OBM, which stands for Online Business Manager. And full disclosure here, if you are watching this video on YouTube and you notice that we look a little bit alike, that is because Andrea is my oldest child, and she is also the OBM in my business. You should know that I'm not one of those moms or parents who was like, super gentle and like everything you do is perfect and you get a trophy no matter what. So we have agreements in our businesses that this is a business. You know, if you've been at the Pulse on Human Design before, I believe that business is business is business. And we have those agreements in place with her working in my business as well. And we're going to unpack for you today 5 mistakes that Andrea sees people making when hiring VAs. So she works with a lot of 6-figure and beyond businesses. She also works with people who are setting up the structures in their business in the beginning. And she sees so many mistakes happening when people hire VAs. And she has seen me make all of these mistakes in my business. So this is like on her heart to have this series. This is going to be a 4-part series. And today's episode is 5 mistakes that you may be making when hiring a VA. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor. I love the Bodygraph community, so thank you.
You're welcome. We appreciate you going in and commenting on posts in our Facebook community and all of those things. So, you have been around the block quite a bit with this. Actually, your background, we should talk about that a little bit. Were a project manager for 17 years, and this is a mama moment here, okay? Only woman on the team, only person under 40, and you worked in project management in that very male-dominated, very structured environment. So, what skills does that help you to bring to the table here?
Oh gosh, it's a lot. Um, but I think for me personally, it was learning to hold my own,
Hmm.
and in that corporate space, but then in my own business too. And it allows me to help the business owners that I work for to encourage them to hold their own. You know, in this case, when you're hiring the right VA, like you have to stand firm in what you want and go after it and find that person. And in your business too, it gave me like a little bit of tenacity.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So Andrea's design, we should talk about that as well.
Mm.
Andrea is a 2-4 manifesting generator, and she has all individual circuitry, one of them being that 2838, which makes someone very, very stubborn and tenacious. So I find that you use that a lot in your business, though, and that's maybe part of what makes you so frustrated with when you see your clients hiring VAs that are not really doing a good job for them. So let's start diving into the mistakes that people make. Mistake number 1 that you see people making when hiring a VA.
Well, it's actually not hiring one yet. So they wait
Mm,
too long to hire a VA. And why this matters is because it starts to create a bottleneck in their business, which hurts their time management, which then hurts their earning potential. It's a vicious cycle. So my recommendation is start to hire when you're at about 75 to 80% of what feels like operating capacity to you and in your
mm.
business. If you wait until you're at 100%, it's going to take you operating at about 110 or 120% to onboard someone. And heaven forbid you don't find the right person the first time. So
That
you
doesn't happen, does
really,
it?
no, no, never. You've never been through that, right?
No.
So yeah, the first mistake is don't wait too long to hire. Um, yeah, look at like the what's 75 or 80% for you and then start the process. Because remember, they're an independent contractor, so you're not bringing them on for 40 hours a week out of the gate.
Yeah. That's a really good point because I think that as entrepreneurs, we can very easily become the bottlenecks in our own businesses, especially as we start to grow. And that's something for those of you listening. Buy Back Your Time is a book by Dan Martell. He's the productivity guy, and he is so good with telling us to hire before we think we need to. And I love that note. Excuse me. I love that from you, Andrea, noticing when you're at 75 to 80% capacity, because we can all kind of tell when our energy is like, ooh, okay. We don't want you to break your life building your business.
Amen.
So, mistake number 2.
Not defining your needs first. Okay,
Okay.
that's great. You're going to hire, but what are you actually going to have them do? So there's a few questions you can ask yourself, and that's what needs to be done in your business that is really outside of your current skill set. Because we wear all of the hats in the beginning, right? But like what hats really need to be taken off?
Mm,
You're not inside your current skill set. Well, that's who you need to be hiring for. What takes you away from income producing activity? In the human design space, if you can offer a reading for 60 minutes or 90 minutes and you're making, I don't know, 397, um, uh, I should say US an hour, then if it's taking you 90 minutes to write 3 emails, that's not an effective use of your time. So, what is outside your current skill set, but then what takes you away from income producing activities? And lastly, what sucks the joy right out of you?
mm,
If you hate being on social media and you get stuck in the scroll and then you think, oh, I just wasted all this time, outsource the social part of your business. You can still be the one who goes in and engages with people if that's what you want, but that doesn't mean you have to be on there like creating and scrolling.
mhm. Or spending 8 hours of your day creating a sales page that you don't know how to make, and then it doesn't work anyway.
Yeah, you've never done that either, eh?
No, I don't do these things in my business. So let's define income generating opportunities in your business, because I think this is where lots of times practitioners can get stuck, is that we don't really understand what's actually making me the money. So we know the Pareto principle, 20% of your activities are bringing in 80% of your income. And 80% of your activities, then, when we look at that in reverse, are probably a waste of your time. So, what would you say are the most important income producing activities in your business?
Ooh, whatever puts you in front of a client.
Mm,
So that's where you're going to bring in your money, right? So, and I think of it like this: if you don't have in the human design space, if you don't have a reading booked, that's getting in front of a client, and that's the bread and butter of your business. What gets you in front of that client?
mm. Oh, that's a
You
good
need
one.
to, build your audience. Thank you.
Yeah.
You need to build your audience. Do you have an awesome audience that isn't really being warmed up right now and nurtured? So nurture your existing audience, get in front of a greater audience. And I mean, you do that by, you've talked about all these things, but a lead magnet and expanding your email list and like treating them so, so great. Being on socials, identifying one platform and like making it your place. Because if you're not already in front of them doing a reading, you need to find a way to get in front of them.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to remember that one. My thinking also goes to, it could be creating a YouTube video, it could be creating a
Yeah.
podcast episode, writing an email if that's something you enjoy, blogging, any of these things that actually are, like Andrea said, either you're in front of a client or they're getting you in front of a client. Let's focus on those things in our businesses. So I think we were at mistake number 3 we're ready for.
We are, but I'm going to go back 1 second and
Yes,
say
please.
I love that you mentioned YouTube and podcast specifically and blog because they live longer online.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you love Insta, that's great. You love Insta, but the algorithm is going to push you down within minutes.
Fast. Yeah.
So, unless it's like the super trend that you hit and you're going to go like viral for real, right? But YouTube and podcasts and blogging, they last so much longer and you can repurpose out of that, which is like an entirely different story. But start with something that lives longer.
We should do an episode on repurposing because I feel like we're both pretty badass at repurposing
Yeah, that's
content.
true.
Yeah. Okay. So mistake
But yeah,
number 3.
number three, failing to pre-screen an interview. So this
Mm,
is like asking the questions that need to be asked. So, like, what is this person's past experience? Do they have work examples or references for you? How do they communicate? Um, do they have multiple clients and how do they manage that workflow? It's important for you to understand where does your work, your task go into their queue? Um, are they working on their own, like independently? Are they part of an agency? Do they subcontract to someone else? Or are you speaking to the face, but that's not who you're actually getting in your business? So these are big questions that need to be asked. And when you're thinking of like screening the person and their past experience, I'm just going to say something. There's a lot of people who jump into the VA space thinking, I'm just going to be a VA.
hmm.
They have no experience, and unfortunately, they didn't do so well maybe in their last business endeavor, and they're coming in wanting to help you run yours.
Yeah.
So these questions really need to be asked. I mean, people can learn anything, but not everyone's going to learn it.
Yeah.
So these questions need to be asked to make sure that you're finding someone who has the skills that you're after. Otherwise, you're babysitting someone, and you don't want that.
Yeah. I feel like you've taken all of these from my life, all of these examples. So we'll see what comes up in 4 and 5. But I would like to address that as well here. So I know you've said to me lots of times, this is something that really is on your heart, that just because someone didn't do something in their own business, don't think they're going to be able to do it in your business. And I feel like there's this trend right now in the online business space where everybody thinks that being a VA is easy.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's as easy as people are making it out to be. They think, oh, well, I'll just do this while I'm working on my own business. But there's a lot of times where that doesn't work out. And I personally got caught in a time as well where I have one really great contractor in my business. I have a few, but this particular contractor in my business, and it was that kind of a thing where I didn't know he was actually going to outsource my work. I love the work that he does in my business, but then he outsourced the extra work that we had agreed upon, and it was a disaster because that person didn't know my business, didn't know anything about my style. Like it was complete disaster. So, and then the other piece about understanding whether they're their own contractor or not is that there's a lot of times where you may be hiring through an agency. You don't know who you're going to get. I mean, sometimes an agency can be good, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you don't know who you're going to get. You might get a different person all the time, which may be fine with you, but maybe not. And then you have to look at how is the person who's actually doing your work being paid. But that's probably a conversation for another day, that sometimes these agencies take a big chunk of money and that person that's doing the work that you love isn't getting paid well.
They're not even making a livable wage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a problem in the space.
Agreed.
Mistake number 4.
Not taking the time to test their skill set before jumping in.
Mhm.
So this is going to relate for you as well.
I make
Um,
all the mistakes. I make all the
it's
mistakes.
okay. And then we learn. But I call this a soft launch. So when you
Ah.
bring someone into your business in whatever capacity, but today in a VA capacity, give them a few tasks or a small bite of a project that's going on, something that's not overly critical in the beginning, so that you can see like how do they approach the work? Is it being completed according to your instructions? Do they come back and ask clarifying questions when they need to? And then ultimately, can they do what they said that they can do?
Mhm.
Because again, like that trend of, oh, I'm just going to be a VA right now. Um, you're not going to learn everything on YouTube. You need some experience. Like it's great. The world is full of resources and you can't tell people you can do something you can't do.
Yeah.
So let's start doing some soft launch testing before you really bring them into all of your business. I mean, your business is like your home, right? You're inviting them in and you want to make sure that it's good fit.
It's kind of like your child. It's like it's just when you're looking for care for your child, you're looking for care for your business. I would like to say something on that as well, and that is that I think it's important that we as entrepreneurs give the VA proper feedback. So if
Yeah.
you get something that you're like, oh, don't just redo it. Don't just go through and like, oh, I'll just change all these things. Like the more feedback we give to a VA, the better they're going to get.
Yeah.
And
And
then
if
I'm going to do a plug here for a second. So bodygraph.com actually has a VA certification program. So we are really passionate. This is why I'm bringing you this series of 4 episodes, at least a 4-part series on how to hire a VA and all of the things that you need to consider, because it's really an important piece of your business as you begin to scale, even as you start out in your business and you start to, keep note of the things that, oh my gosh, I actually hate this. It's killing my soul. This is the first thing off my list. But we were seeing at bodygraph.com, we were seeing so many people hiring VAs for big, big, big bucks who were not delivering. And that's the key. It's fine if you want to hire a VA for big bucks. I don't think that anyone needs to work for pennies. However, the services weren't being delivered. And when Giddis and Algus, our founders, we were all in a meeting together. And when they heard some of the horror stories of what was happening for people's businesses, they were like, we are going to fix this. So the way that we have chosen to fix this is to offer a VA certification program where if you have killer tech skills, you can come in and we will train you and we will promote you. You'll be promoted in our onboarding sequences with clients. You'll be promoted on our website. We will back your skills for people who want a little more help setting up the systems in their businesses. And every time there is a new update within our systems, you'll be the first to know about it. You'll be the first to be trained on it so that you're always one step ahead. So I'm going to put some links in the show notes for you that you can go in there and grab that. If it's something that's calling to you that you're like, you know what, I would really like to be a kick-ass, pardon my language, VA within this human design and astrology space, then you're going to want to check that out. Okay, Andrea, back to you. Mistake number 5. We at 5?
Number 5.
Okay.
Yes.
Ooh.
And this kind of leads into a bit of that, a bit about the program, but not paying a VA's actual value.
Mm,
And when I say that, that can be underpaying or overpaying.
correct.
So we've talked a little bit about like sometimes when you hire an agency, and not all agencies do this, but they're not actually paying somebody a livable wage, right? So that person is severely being underpaid. Um, on the other hand, there's overpaying in the industry, which is unfortunately some of what
Very
has happened
common.
in the community. So it's really common for people to be looking for, say, a VA, and what they really mean is web design. Like they need
Mm,
design and back-end support in their website. That's not a standard VA. That's more of like a senior VA or like a specialized VA,
mhm.
or graphic design or strategic planning or an OBM. So if that's what you're looking for, you want to find someone who's right priced for that. You want to be paying a fair wage. You don't want to overpay, but you don't want to underpay because you're probably not going to get what you're looking for. Now, on the opposite side, you're looking at your task list and it's general VA skills. These should not be obscene rates,
Yeah.
right? Like these should not, yeah, these should not be obscene rates. You should be paying for more of a general skill set. So get really clear on what it is that you're asking a VA to do, right? That's getting defining your needs. And then when you do the like the pre-screening and the soft launch, that really helps you to make sure that you're finding the right fit for the right value. And that value should feel good for you and for them.
Mm. I like that very, very much. Yeah, it's important. And I think that sometimes I'm just going to say wannabe VAs. So people who
Mm,
maybe aren't having the success that they want in their business and they think, oh, I'll just be a VA. It's easy because I've set up these systems in my business and you harp on this all the time, but it's not working in their business. But
yeah.
oftentimes they come in and they see someone who's making a decent wage in their business and they think, oh, well, I'll just charge $100 an hour or something for VA tasks. But like you say, that's not VA task rate. And
No.
even Gittes in a conversation that we were having said, like, I would never pay that in my business for VA tasks. So
No.
that's how people stay successful and sustainable in their businesses is that they know the lane that each task is in. And here's one more thing that was coming up for me is that it's okay. And probably you're going to need more than one contractor in your business as you grow. You might have a podcast editor and you might have a video editor who's separate, and you might have someone who takes care of your email system, or you might have a social media manager. You might have none of those things. It might be something entirely different for you, but it doesn't have to be one person doesn't have to meet all of the needs in your business.
So when you're bringing support on, I teach people to deepen their bench. And the reason is when you're getting to that level and you're scaling beyond 6 figures, all of your support cannot be on one person because life happens.
Yeah.
And whether it's interruptions in your own life and you need on your VA who knows your business or your OBM, they can't take on all of yours and theirs. And on the flip side, if it's something's happened in the VA, then you're stuck with all the hats again, and that's not sustainable. So if you're going to deepen your bench, it's how can you bring in two, three, four independent contractors for different skill sets? Now you have a general VA, you have someone for web design, you have someone for social media. And as they begin to work together, there starts to be a bit of overlap. So everyone knows that they can pitch in a little bit when someone else needs some grace or some space.
Mhm. I like that. I'm just going to run over quickly, like why an OBM over a VA and my own experience in my own business, because I feel like people find that helpful sometimes. So for me, an OBM, an online business manager, is important because my brain as a quadrite in human design doesn't focus on the details. There isn't one single part of my design that is detail focused. I'm the big vision person, so it's really helpful sometimes to have someone outside of yourself. No matter your design, it's helpful to have someone outside of yourself who can look in and go, okay, here's how all the pieces fit. Here's how, like, I know these are the things I'm going to do, but I need someone like Andrea to come in and say, Okay, these are the pieces that you need to have in place so that nothing gets broken. And you know what? Things always get broken in my business, and I'm pretty okay to roll with it because that's kind of Manny Gen life or 3-5 life. If you're a 3-5, that's going to be certainly part of your life. And that's all okay. But some of having this support in your business just takes the pressure off of you if you do it right. If you don't do it right, like Andrea said earlier, you're babysitting, and that makes you no longer an entrepreneur. It makes you like a manager of sorts. And I don't think any of us signed up to do that. Um, so Andrea and I are going to do, as I said, this is part of a series. We've got a 4-part series planned. On the next episode, part 2, it's going to be preparing to hire your first VA. What do you need to do in your business? What do you need to have ready in your business to hire your first VA? Part 3 is going to be how to know when you have found the right VA. And then part 4 is going to be how to onboard that right VA. She's going to give us lots of tips and tricks for how to actually onboard for a successful and happy relationship for both of you so that you both succeed and feel like you're doing work that you love. If you have enjoyed this episode, then I invite you to follow along on the Pulse on Human Design. Just click that little follow button, consider leaving us a review, and join our community. We have a community on Facebook. I'm going to put that link in the show notes for you. Andrea's in there sometimes commenting on things. We have got lots and lots of human design and astrology experts in there, practitioners, people building businesses. Our tech team is in there answering questions for you. It's a really great group to be a part of. And if you don't have any clue what I'm talking about when I say bodygraph.com, then I invite you to check us out online. You can start a free 21-day trial. We are more than software. We actually provide the resources that you need to build your sustainable business without burning yourself out. You can embed the human design and astrology chart on your website so that people never have to leave your website to get what they need. You can create lead magnets or use pre-made lead magnets to grow your email list. You can connect your CRM. You can create and sell personalized human design and astrology reports that help to grow your business with passive income. All of this exists for you at bodygraph.com. And like I said, it's a free 21-day trial, and the link is in the show notes for you. So thank you, Andrea, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait till part 2.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see you back here next week.
I'm a nerd for it.
Yeah, thank you.